Hi everyone, welcome back to the Mind Oracle channel. Today we'll be looking at the interference theory for AQA A-level memory from psychology. We'll be looking at the key theory as well as the key terms and definitions, followed by the research for this topic, and after that we'll look at the key strengths and weaknesses for the interference theory. So, first of all, just covering what the interference theory actually is. The interference theory explains forgetting as memories that can be disrupted with what we have previously learned or what we will learn in the future. In other words, the information that we store in our memory has been overwritten. The two key terms that you need to know for this topic are super straightforward. So, the one being proactive interference. This can happen when an old memory disrupts a new memory, meaning that your recall or your memory of the more recent event is distorted or inaccurate. Then there's retroactive interference. This can happen when a new memory disrupts an older one. So, this time your recall of the older memory is distorted or inaccurate. A way to not get this mixed up, just remember retro means old, so that means that the older one is getting disrupted, and you can just connect the dots and say that proactive is when the new memory is being disrupted. Make sure not to get these two terms confused because it is really easy to mix them up, but once you have one of them down, you can just remember the other one. So the study that you need to know behind this is McGoach and MacDonald in 1931. So the study essentially consisted of the participant learning one singular word list until 100% accuracy, and after this they had to either learn a list of symptoms, antonyms, unrelated words, consonant syllables, or three-digit numbers. So they just had to learn one of those lists after learning the first list with 100% accuracy. And essentially, what this is doing is it's testing their retroactive memory. So they're testing to see whether learning the new list has affected their memory of learning the old one, even though they learned the first list till 100% accuracy. They also had a control group which learned no new list, so they just learned the one first list and that was it. They essentially found that the group of participants that learnt a list of synonyms, so words with the same meaning as the first list of words, had least accurate recall. So what this shows, the conclusion is that the more similar the information, the greater the level of interference. So because the words were similar in meaning, they were more likely to get mixed up, and therefore interference was greater, and the accuracy of memory of the first list was less or decreased or distorted. Now we'll be moving on to the evaluations. So, first of all, one of the strengths of the study is the fact that there's research support, or one of the strengths of the theory, rather, is that it has research support. So, you can just cite the study that I've just shown you, the learning the word list to 100% accuracy study. And essentially, the link for this would be that it increases the credibility of the interference theory as an explanation for forgetting. And remember, it's really important to add in that second bit as an explanation for forgetting because we're essentially linking the study as being a piece of evidence and showing why that's good for the theory. So it's good because it shows that it's a more credible way for us to be able to explain why people or how people forget pieces of information. So now the next strength is that there's real life application. So researchers suggested that ads should focus on running multiple ads a day, or advertisers should run multiple ads in one day rather than spreading out the ads across the week, as this will reduce interference from competitor ads. And therefore, the interference theory has real life application in improving the impact of ads. If you want to go a step further, you can say that this therefore has economical implications because people are more likely to spend their money on the products that are being advertised to them if their memory or the accuracy of memory of these ads are less distorted. So essentially, what it's saying is that because of the interference theory, we know that it's much more effective to run multiple ads of the same product in one day rather than just spreading out, say, two ads a week for one product, because that way the people or the consumers are more likely to remember this product and are more likely to then go buy it. Now, moving on to a weakness, there are researchers that say that the interference theory is an incomplete explanation of forgetting. So the reason why I say this is because Gordon and Badley in 1975 found that recall was higher when learners learnt lists and recalled the lists in the same environmental location rather than when learning and recall environments were different. So for example, they had a group of participants go underwater and a group of participants stayed on land. So what they found was that participants who learnt the list and recalled the list both on land had higher accuracy than participants who learnt the list underwater and then had to recall it on land, meaning that our location or environment does play a role in whether or not we can remember certain pieces of information, meaning that context can be a factor involved in forgetting, which the interference theory doesn't really mention, and therefore this makes it an incomplete explanation which would need further addition or further research to explain the importance of context when remembering certain pieces of information. So the interference theory on its own is not enough to explain why we forget things. Now, that was the main sort of theory and crux for this video. Remember, while these videos are a great way to improve your understanding, I'm in the process of creating detailed revision notes and summaries to help you save time and secure those top grades. You can find sample essays that score top marks and bonus evaluations that help you stay ahead, and there's loads of tons of extra resources. So please do stay updated and subscribe so you know when I've released a website and release all of this information and extra resources to help you secure the top grades. If you're also interested in learning about psychology beyond the curriculum and outside of the classroom, which is where it's best learned, do be sure to check out the sister channel called Mystic Mind, where we explore topics beyond the specification, ranging from loads of different things like love and attachment styles to supernatural beliefs and myths and cultural relevancy regarding different psychological theories. So, if you would be interested in that, please be sure to check that out too. It's linked in the description, and you can also find it on the channel's homepage. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, please do like and subscribe and let us know down in the comments what you'd like to see in the future and whether you had any feedback for us. And until Wednesday, happy revision.